Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Cards on the Table. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Hassan and John from Ref6. Guys, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Doing well. Yeah, enjoying the not enjoying the lockdown. Looking forward to football restarting.
Aren't we all? So, would you be able to tell us a bit about Ref6, which is obviously your business, and for the listeners, what it's about?
Yeah, sure. We've only got 15 minutes for the podcast, so I'll try and keep it brief. Effectively, we're an app designed by referees for referees to help, initially to help track match incidents during the game. So people use a smartwatch like an Apple Watch, an Android watch, etc. To, instead of using a notebook and pen, they can use a smartwatch to record goals, cards, substitutions. It also helps them track time, keep track of time, injuries, etc. And performance tracking. So after a game, you can see how far you've ran. You see a heat map of where you've been on the pitch, how many sprints you've done, etc. And we can show you a load of data about your performance in game. So that's what we do today. There's lots of things we're looking to do in the future, but I'm sure we'll get on to that.
So how did Ref6 come about? Obviously, it's a fairly new concept. Could you tell us a bit about its origins?
Yeah, I wish it was new, but it's been an idea since I started the refereeing course, probably about 10 years ago now. It was about the time when iPhone had come out and all of a sudden apps were a thing. And I just found it strange that we were still using paper and pen in a game when it could be really quickly done on a phone. So actually, as my dissertation from my university degree, put together this app and really didn't know what to do with it. It was my dissertation. So that's how it came about. That's how the idea came about. And it was purely around administration, right? So how do I just record the data? And then we had it actually, before whole game, there was these spreadsheets that you have to fill in as a referee. We had it automatically populating those spreadsheets. So you literally press a button, done, send it off. And so that's where it came from. And then we started the business. I went and had a proper job in finance, built some apps, designed some apps. And then one day just had the urge to try this app again. It was around the time the Apple Watch came out, because all of a sudden it was like, okay, maybe referees wouldn't use a phone, but they'd use a watch. And so we started the business about, 5 years ago. Had some initial referees use it, about 50 from about 5 different countries, test it out over a year. And then we went and raised some money, kind of like watching Dragon's Den, stuff like that. Raised some money, built a team, and now have referees all over the world using the app, which is fantastic.
So pre-pandemic, what was the sort of user base that you had? Obviously, you went from 50. Where were you at then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So in terms of user base, we have 40,000 registered users of our app. Not everyone's using it because a lot of referees have downloaded it because they thought, oh, this looks good, but don't have a compatible smartwatch yet, etc. 2019 we had, I think, John, 95,000 matches roughly.
Yeah.
Refereed using our app. So if you think about a Premier League season, there's 380 games in the whole season. We'd do that in an hour on a Saturday. So it's pretty insane, the number of referees using it. And our product is designed for grassroots referees. It can be used. It has been used all the way up the levels. But, our focus is grassroots referees, and that's where it is. So 95,000 matches in a year was pretty good. We were hoping to beat that last year. But six months of a pandemic, ruining, matches. We got close. I think we got to 85,000 matches. Which was great, seeing as 6 months of the year, everyone couldn't play football in most countries. So yeah, it's going well. And when you talk about user base, it's all over the world. So the UK is pretty big. It's I think our second biggest country. The US is the biggest one. People don't think that football or soccer over there, as they call it, is that popular, but everyone plays it. You can't play American football until you're a certain age because of the physicality of it. So actually a lot of girls and boys play it when they're growing up. And there's around 160,000 referees out there, which is crazy. So the US, UK, and then we have referees in Japan all the way out to Australia, New Zealand, using the app in loads of different countries.
So I've got to ask you about the name because I think it's something that I've always been interested in. Where did Ref 6 come from?
Yeah, John, do you actually know this one?
I briefly know it, but
okay. So there's two stories. I can do the short and the long one, and I'll keep them both short. Basically, the short one that's a fake answer is Ref 6. 6 looks like a whistle. The logo's like a 6, a whistle. That's the short answer, but it's not true. When we started the business, we were creating different software for different people. So we had some software for football charities, so like Albion in the community, those types of community arms of football. We had an app for scouting, and we had an app for refs. And I'm a massive Newcastle fan, and when we signed Gini Wijnaldum, they talked about the 6-6 formation. And so it's a Dutch term that, Gini Wijnaldum plays in that 6-6 role where you have two holding midfielders. And I had this just weird idea that, okay, well, 6-6, the holding midfielders, they do all the dirty work, like your Makaleles, your Kantes, to allow the other people to succeed, basically. So we initially called ourselves 6-6, and we had Ref 6, Coach 6, and Scout 6. And then what we realized quickly is we can't do 3 different products all trying to do it all in one go. Ref 6 was always a passion. We kept the name, and it was a working title for a long time, but it just grew and grew, and it works for now. People like it, people have heard of it, and maybe there's other names I would have liked to call it, but we couldn't come up with them at the time. So here we go.
It's too late now. It's Ref 6 now. So
it's too late now. It's short and sharp, and it looks like a whistle, so it's great.
So obviously starting out at university with this idea, developing it 5 years down the line to where we are now. Obviously you've got yourself and John. How big is the Ref 6 team now?
Yeah, so John, do you want to just give a little bit of an overview of your role, and then I can talk about the rest?
yeah. So I'm a product analyst. So I go in, I look at how people use the product. I got the job almost bang on a year ago, 1st of March last year. So yeah, I look at how people use the product, and then how obviously we can use what they want in bringing features forward, and obviously helping explain different features that we use.
Yeah, and John does more than that. He's selling himself short here. He's been speaking to a lot of the referees, understanding what value, it brings to them and their game, because every referee uses the app slightly differently. We also do our own podcast. We're going to plug that quickly. The Ref 6 Weekly podcast, where we chat about refereeing topics, and you'll be on ours later today, which is great. The wider team. So Luke is my business partner and co-founder. We met when we worked at American Express. He's the tech brains behind everything. He does all the builds, etc. Not a referee, not a football fan, but just loves the technology, loves the concept, loves everything about the app, basically. We just actually acquired a business from Denmark last week, an app called Ref Level, and the founder of that business is now a developer within Ref 6, which is great. So that's a full-time team of 4. We have a developer in Canada that we work with who's currently building our Garmin app. We have a designer in Australia that we use on a freelance basis who's a football referee himself. So that's the core team at the moment. We have a couple of other people that we reach out to here and there for different work, and we go from there.
So how has it developed from this app to where you are now, and what features have you introduced? You listen to user feedback, and how do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, I mean, John does a lot of that, right? So John, in his conversations with users, he gets a load of the ideas or the needs that they want in terms of features. Other ways we do it, we have a specific feedback section within our app where people can go in and post features that they want, and people can upvote them. So that's great. But there's certain things. So these are things that the users are asking for. And we think there's also stuff that the users don't know that they need as well. So that's what we've also got to come up with ourselves. So John's looking at creating fitness content and fitness products for the app. We're looking at, education. So another product that we're going to launch at some point this year is going to be called Officials United, which is basically getting some of the elite referees in a room on a camera, giving their tips and tricks how to be a referee. Not necessarily about Dogzo or handball, but more about the emotional and the mental side of, the things that they think worked for them. But in terms of the Ref6 app, there are certain things that we're looking at in the future. So at the moment, it's a very insulated app. You use it, you can see your data, but how do we turn it into some form of social kind of experience whereby, hey, let's say me or us three go out on a game. Maybe if I add the fixture, I can add you two to it. Only one of us has to put the team sheet in. I can also, maybe we can do our pre-match chat in the app and share all the match report after the game. You might be hearing some soaring. I'm getting a load of work done, so apologies if that's coming across. So that's one thing about turning it into a bit of a social experience. Maybe I can follow you and see your games, etc. Very similar to a Strava experience. But then the ultimate goal is how do we get integrated into other systems? So whether that in England being MOAS and whole game, so your red card and yellow card reports are done automatically after the game. How do we get your schedule and your fixtures sent through to our app? So we're looking at so many different ways of improving the app and just trying to become that one place where referees can come to interact with their refereeing career, basically. So hopefully that answers your question. That was quite a long-winded answer, but anything I missed, John? Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's all the main keys.
Yeah.
So you said there around before how you've established yourself in different parts of the world, and America, Japan, obviously the UK. What would you say was the toughest nut to crack in terms of Ref6 to date? In terms of how it was received, how have you found it?
I think that's a great question. Initially, people with any new type of product, you're going to get people. They're called early adopters. The people that are just like, wow, I've needed this all my life, and I'm going to go all in, and they'll use it, and they'll give you feedback, and they'll be okay if something goes wrong. They'll just be like, okay, it's early. And then there's going to be the people on the other side of the coin who are like, oh, we don't need that. We've never needed that, and won't try it and won't use it. And that's life. That's with everything, right? People didn't need a smartphone 10, 15 years ago, and now 80-90% of people have a smartphone. So things evolve, things take time to kind of get out there. So that's just normal. That happened with us, referees, even now referees saying, well, I don't need a digital, I can just do it on a notebook, which is great. It does so much more than just being your notebook. And what we're finding is different referees are using it for different features. So even if you don't want to use it for your notebook, they're using it as a timer, they're using it for sin bins, they're using it for physical data. So I'm not answering your question, but basically I will now. Loads of people react differently, and as time has gone on and more people see it and use it, it breeds more confidence into that next stage, from the early adopters to what's called the fast followers. So we're there, and then you move on into the kind of mass market, and that's, I think, where we're hopefully getting into at the moment, where a lot more referees, I hope, are using, or you're seeing out when you're going out as a team of three, using the product. And that's the interesting piece. We've seen a lot more users reach out and say, hey, I've been on a game with other referees using the app, and it would be great if only one of us had to put team sheets in, and then I could share it, right? And that's a great problem to have because it's showing that actually, well, you're turning up to a game now and multiple referees are using it. It's not just that one person that you see in a season use it. It's like every game or every other game or every third game, you're seeing someone else using, which is very, very cool.
So how do you anticipate the next few years, to continue the Ref6 revolution?
Revolution. John, do you have any ideas on what we're going to do over the next couple of years? Growth-wise?
What wise?
Growth-wise, like how's the revolution going to kick on?
We're just taking over. A lot of it, you've got to find out what people use at different stages. So like Hassan was saying, that we try and find, as a level 7 in England, how you differently use it to level 4 and how we can tailor it that way. So for example, level 7s use it more for admin and sim bins, whereas a level 4 will use it more for like their performance tracking. So we've got to find the right balance between both, sort of like we say, mass market, and obviously the people going for the elite as well. And then obviously the more people we get working with it from the start to finish, from level 7 all the way up is the easiest way that people understand it and use it more and enjoy it really and see the benefit of it by getting them at the start rather than getting them at the end of sort of their journey to level 4 basically. So catching people early with it would be the easiest way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I mentioned the social elements in the past. So how do we enable some of that? So if it's more of a community for refereeing, and how loud is the work in the background coming through? Is it quite loud?
You're all right now.
You can't even hear it. Good, wonderful. So the other way that we can, or that I'm hoping the revolution can happen, is about integrations, right? So our key is to partner with as many organizations that we can that can, one, spread the message of Ref6, but also technically, how do we help improve the administration? I mentioned Whole Game and MOAS. Other countries have different systems. What other systems would be interesting for referees? So full-time as well, you get your schedule through full-time, but how good would it be if you can go in the Ref6 app? I've got this game this weekend between a home team and away team. I go on there, I can see all the form of the two teams, the players with, you know, the most yellow and red cards in the team, if you want to, the last 6 results, etc., the league table. Why at the moment referees have to go to a variety of different places to do all that pre-match information? Why can't it be in one place? So basically the answer is, if we can add more and more exciting features that will just help referees, that's, as you called it, the revolution. That's where we go, I think.
So obviously we've had, you know, over here almost 6 months now of limited to no refereeing, and I'm sure that's been the same. I'm sure you can tell me based on your user statistics that's been the same in other parts of the world. How have you seen that impact on a product that is predominantly used to track football matches?
Yeah, it's been difficult. We went from, I think we did, 4,000 matches in one weekend in September last year, which was great. That was when the season started to reopen, and down to a few hundred a week. There will always be football in, like I said, we've got referees in New Zealand and Australia where they've handled the pandemic slightly differently, and they're still allowing grassroots sports. America's a funny case because certain states are completely locked down and certain are open. So we've seen like Texas and Florida being hugely still open using our app, and it's been really interesting. So actually what we found is, if we looked at our data early, we can find out where the pandemic is spreading quicker, because we can kind of see it, because if there's no football matches happening, there's a lockdown or some issues happening. So it's been difficult. We've had a lot less no need for referees or users to use our app, right? And that's given us some time to think about, okay, cool. So what other things can we do for non-match day? Because non-match day happens 6 out of 7 days a week in most cases, maybe 5 out of 7 days. So it's given us some pause for thought to figure out what can we do for non-match days, and we'll see some exciting new features and new products come out this year based on, the impact of the pandemic, and maybe giving us a different mindset, I think, when we think about refereeing.
So here's hoping come the 29th of March, you see that exponential growth come back.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. The worry for me is, we're seeing leagues prior to the announcement by Boris cancel, null and void their season. We're still seeing that. I think it's going to be really difficult for many leagues to finish. So I'm hoping that many of them will run competitions and cups, etc. So at least people, because that's all. It's not just selfishly from Ref6 perspective, but everyone who's a referee just wants to go out and referee a game. They're sick and tired of being stuck in the house. So, any football, whether it be friendlies or some form of competition, would just be a welcome from referees, from players, from coaches, from spectators. Everyone just wants to get back to some form of normality. So March 29th, here we come.
I think now's probably a good time to mention, for obviously all the English-based referees, that members of the RA can get 20% off Ref6 subscriptions. So make sure that they take advantage of that when football comes back. Obviously, be sure to follow Ref6 on all the platforms? You've got a Facebook group, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a Facebook users community called the Ref6 users community, where our users are there and people who are looking at using Ref6 come there just to ask questions. So definitely join that group if you're listening. So yeah, thanks for that plug. And we have the Ref6 weekly podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. So once you finish listening to Cards on the Table, switch over, listen to the Ref6 weekly. We talk about kind of weekly news and refereeing and different incidents. So it's pretty cool.
Hassan, John, thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to following the Ref6 journey as it continues, and we'll see everyone again this time next week.